My Safety Training presents Fall Protection. What topics will we cover? We'll talk about our objectives, legal requirements, passive systems, active systems. What does equipment inspection and maintenance consist of? OSHA's recommendations for rescue procedures, elements of the program, pre-planning, definitions, and fall hazards. The purpose of this presentation is to introduce a proactive approach to identifying fall hazards and protection methods through the pre-planning process. We'll discuss OSHA's fall protection requirements for both general industry and construction. Part 1. Introduction to Fall Protection Definitions. We will discuss the guarding of open-sided floor, wall openings, holes, railings, covers, fixed industrial stairs, and portable ladders, as well as fixed ladders. We'll discuss the definitions for housekeeping, floor loading, aisles, and passageways. The safety requirements for scaffolding, DOT 28, call for guardrails and toe boards at 10 feet and manually propelled mobile ladder stands and scaffolds, DOT 29. The legal requirements for fall protection include other working surfaces under DOT 30, such as floors, provisions for window cleaners, ramps and runways, piers and wharves. Part 2. Fall Protection Construction Definitions. A platform is defined as a working surfaces for persons elevated above the surrounding floor or ground, such as a balcony or platform for the operation of machinery and equipment. A runway is defined as a passageway for persons elevated above the surrounding floor and ground level, such as a footwall, along with shafting and or walkway between buildings. A wall opening is defined as an opening at least 30 inches high, 18 inches wide in any wall or partition through which persons may fall, such as a yard arm, doorway, or chute opening. All floor openings and holes must be guarded or covered regardless of the fall distance. A floor hole is an opening measuring at least 12 inches but more than 1 inch in its dimension in any floor, platform, pavement, or yard through which materials but not persons may fall, such as a belt hole, pipe opening, or slot opening. Floor openings occupied by elevators, dumbwaiters, conveyors, machinery, or containers are excluded from this subpart. Every skylight opening and hole must be guarded by a standard skylight, screen, or a standard railing on all exposed sides. Stairways are defined as having 4 or more risers less than 44 inches wide must be equipped with a standard stair railings or handrails. They must have at least one handrail, preferably on the right side descending, with both sides enclosed. Stairways having 4 or more risers more than 88 inches wide must have at least one handrail on each enclosed side, one stair rail on each side, and one intermediate stair railing located approximately midway in length. A stair rail is a vertical barrier erected along an exposed side of a stairway with construction similar to a standard railing. A stair railing must have a vertical height of no more than 34 inches, nor less than 30 inches from the upper surface of the top rail to the surface of the tread. Part 3. Meeting minimum fall protection standards. Subpart M requires employers to ensure that fall protection systems are provided, installed, and implemented when employees are exposed to a habit of 10 feet or more to a lower level. Fall protection must be provided when employees are exposed to a hazard of falling 6 feet or more. Minimum fall protection is called for when there are holes, including the starlights, in wall openings from established floors, mezzanines, balconies, walkways, and excavations. Fall protection systems must meet the criteria of DOT 502, which calls for fall protection system criteria and practices. A hole is a gap or void 2 inches or more in its least dimension in a floor, roof, or other walking working surfaces. Each employee on a walking working surface must be protected from falling through holes, including skylights, more than 6 feet above lower levels. Each employee on a walking working surface must be protected from objects falling through the holes, including skylights, by covers. Smoke domes or skylight fixtures are not considered covers unless they are capable of supporting, without failure, at least twice the weight of employees, equipment, and materials that is imposed at any one time. Any opening in a wall other than a partition where the outside bottom edge of the wall opening is 6 feet or more above a lower level, and the inside bottom ledge of the wall opening is less than 39 inches above the walls. Each employee working on, at, above, or on, or near the wall openings must be protected from falling. Each employee on established floors, mezzanines, balconies, and walkways with an unprotected side or edge 6 feet or more above a lower level must be protected from falling. Each employee on the edge of a well, pit, shaft, or excavation 6 feet or more in depth must be protected from falling. A stairway or ladder shall be provided at all personnel points of access where there is a break in the elevation 19 inches or more and no ramp, runway, sloped embankment, or personnel hoist must be provided. Winding or spiral stairways must be equipped with a handrail offset sufficiently to prevent walking on those portions of the stairway where the tread width is less than 6 inches. Stair railings not less than 36 inches from the upper surface of a stair railing system to the surface of the tread in line with the face of the riser at the forward edge of the tread. Stair railings have construction similar to a standard railing or guardrail. When there is a hazard of falling objects, each employee must wear a hard hat, plus one of the following measures must be implemented. Toe boards, screens, guardrail systems erected to prevent objects from falling from higher levels, with a canopy structure erected in addition to the helping keep the potential objects far enough from the edge. Minimum fall protection requirements call for barricading the area and prohibiting employees from entering in the area, in addition to keeping potentially falling objects far enough from the edge. Part 4. Fall Protection's 8 Steps to Compliance. Step number 1. Determine the walking working surfaces are structurally safe. Step 2. Conduct a fall hazard assessment. Step 3. Eliminate the need for fall protection if possible. Step 4. Select the appropriate type of fall protection systems. Step 5. Develop rescue retrieval procedures. Step 6. Develop an equipment inspection, maintenance, and storage program. Step 7. Provide fall protection training. Step 8. Monitor the fall protection program. Evaluate the work site. Identify fall hazards. Identify who is exposed to fall hazards. Evaluate the process to be done and the needs to complete the task. Identify what methods of fall protection will be used for each fall hazard identified. Educate and train workers. Okay, let's look at how we can implement each one of those 8 steps to help us comply with the fall protection standard. Does the walking working surface have a structurally integrity to safely support all employees and equipment? Do older buildings with wooden roof edges have potential hazards? What about demolition work? Employees should be permitted to work on roofs and other working surfaces during the demolition until an employer has been determined that the surfaces are structurally safe. Conduct a fall hazard assessment. Fall hazards are present everywhere simply because any walking or working surface can't provide them. In addition, many workers are working at various levels of elevation, including increasing the severity of injury. Knowing what can immediately contribute to a fall can help in assessing the risk. A fall hazard assessment greatly helps identify and evaluate those physical fall hazards. When conducting a fall hazard assessment, determine which specific job activities or areas expose employees to fall hazards, and determine what type of work is going to be performed, the frequency of the work being performed, and if workers require horizontal or vertical movements. Here's a potential fall hazard. Can you identify in these 2 opposing pictures? When conducting a fall hazard assessment, determine the distance to lower levels and if working surfaces protected by guardrails or a parapet wall. Is this adequate? Determine if employees could be exposed to other types of health or safety hazards, and can it affect selection or use of fall protection systems. The person conducting the fall hazard assessment should have some education and/or relevant experience to recognize and evaluate fall hazards. This person should also have a practical knowledge and understanding of all fall protection system components. A competent person is someone capable of identifying existing and predictable hazards in the surroundings or work conditions, which are hazardous or dangerous to employees, and has the authorization to take prompt corrective measures to eliminate them. Here are several more potential hazards for walking working surfaces. Several more potential hazards are described here in these photos. Can you identify them? Working at lower heights. Use equipment that prevents fall hazards and platforms that provide built-in fall protection. Use tool extensions and work from ground level. Lower the equipment or tools to ground level. Use appropriate aerial lifts. Design buildings or other working surfaces to eliminate or reduce the exposure. And use equipped contractors at your site whenever possible. Eliminate through work from ground, walls, enclosures, and covers. Prevention is through the use of railings or through the use of aerial lifts. Also through the use of fences or barriers or the use of parapets. Arrest systems. Use personal fall arrest systems and personal fall restraint systems. Other systems such as using nets, positioning devices, and roof brackets. Control methods such as safety monitors or warning lines and controlled decking zones. Consider the following factors when selecting fall protection systems: the distance to the lower level, the types of activities requiring fall protection, and specific requirements of each activity, the specific types of equipment and components needed with fall protection systems, how much vertical and horizontal movement will employees need to perform each activity. Environmental conditions in which fall protection system equipment will be used, the potential difficulty in using fall protection systems to perform normal and non-routine job activities, and the need for anchorage points of suitable design and strength. When selecting appropriate fall protection systems, look for the presence of chemical, electrical, and welding hazards, how employees were recovered or be rescued from a fallen position, and the presence of sharp or rough edges and surfaces. There are two major categories or systems of fall protection: passive fall protection systems and active fall protection systems. Passive systems are designed to provide fall protection system without any action by employees. Examples of these are guardrails, nets, covers, and aerial lifts. Active fall protection systems include components and systems that must be connected otherwise by employees, such as personal fall arrest systems, personal fall restraint systems, and work positioning. Guardrail systems. A top rail at 48 inches plus or minus 3 inches from the working surface. A mid rail, which is between the top rail and the surface. The top rail must be able to withstand 200 pounds of pressure. The mid rail 150 pounds of pressure. And it must be surfaced to prevent cuts and must not project over the posts. A chain, gate, or removable section across the openings at the hoisting areas. It should be erected around all sides of a hull, and you'll find more specifics inside OSHA Subpart M. Active fall protection includes components and systems that must be connected or otherwise activated by employees. Examples of this are personal fall arrest systems, personal fall restraint systems, and work positioning. A positioning device system must prevent free fall of no more than 2 feet. It must be secured to an anchorage capable of supporting at least twice the potential impact of a fall, or 3,000 pounds, whichever is greater. Connectors and connecting components must be made in accordance with Subpart N.502D. Personal fall restraint systems must be rigged to prevent the user from falling any distance. They can be comprised of full body harnesses, anchorages, and connectors, and done along to the specifications of 502D. Anchorage will be used with an attachment must be capable of supporting 3,000 pounds per employee attached. Active system selections should be designed, installed, and used as part of a complete fall arrest system which maintains a safety factor of at least 2 and under the supervision of a qualified person. The PFAS reduces the injury sustained by a fall by reducing the distance of the fall and by absorbing the arresting forces. It must limit the maximum arresting force on an employee to 1,800 pounds. It must be rigged such as an employee cannot free fall more than 6 feet and not contact a lower level. It must limit the deceleration distance to 3.5 feet. Anchorages used for attachments must be capable of supporting 5,000 pounds per employee attached, be designed, installed, and used as part of a personal fall arrest system which maintains a safety factor of at least 2 and again under the supervision of a qualified person. A rescue system must be in place to provide for a prompt rescue of employees in the event of a fall and shall assure that employees are able to rescue themselves. Here are some examples of personal fall arrest systems: the anchorage and the body harness. The anchorage point can be a single attachment to a substantial structure above the surface in which the employee is working, or it can be done at 1 or 2 attachments used to anchor the vertical or horizontal lifeline. An anchorage point is a secure point of attachment for lifelines, lanyards, and deceleration systems or self-retracting lanyards. Remember, the anchorage point for fall arrest systems must be capable of supporting 5,000 pounds for each worker and used as part of a complete PAFS, maintaining a safety factor of at least 2 and under the supervision of a qualified person. The attachment point or D-ring must be located in the center of the wearer's back near shoulder level. The impact of a fall is imposed on the trunk of the body, which distributes the MAF to a larger area than the safety belt, reducing the potential for damage to the body. Vertical lifelines are designed to be used only by one person with a rope grab. Here's a picture of one. Horizontal lifelines can be used as part of a complete PAFS, which maintains a safety factor of at least 2 when designed, installed, and used under the supervision of a qualified person. A deceleration device means any mechanism which dissipates the substantial amount of energy imposed on an employee during fall arrest. Deceleration devices include rope grabs, rip stitch, and tearing lanyards, and self-retracting lanyards. Remember, the maximum arresting force on an employee during a fall arrest must not be less than 1,800 pounds. We've all heard the expression, it's not the fall that hurts, but the sudden stop. Think of the fall as a sudden, unanticipated descent in a space driven by gravity. Although this may not sound severe, the consequences are often disabling or deadly. The free fall velocity at impact when falling 12 feet is nearly 20 miles per hour. Put another way, a person will hit the ground in just under 1 second after falling this distance. Train your rescuers in rescue techniques and practice rescue attempts and ensure available equipment is accessible. Arrange and communicate with other contractors on the site. Arrange and communicate with other outside services if available. Designate someone to summon them upon arrival and plan a route and establish lines of communications. Don't assume the fire department will be equipped and available. First and foremost, when it comes to equipment inspection, inspect and maintain following the manufacturer's recommendations. This means obtaining and filling the product manufacturer's user's manuals. All fall protection equipment, including harnesses, lanyards, and other connectors, must be visually inspected before each use. Periodic inspections by a competent person for wear damage or corrosion should be part of your safety inspection program. Defective equipment must be immediately taken out of service, tagged, marked as unusable, or destroyed. Do not return it to use unless a competent person determines no damage was done. Basic care of the equipment will prolong its durable life and will contribute to the performance of its vital safety function. Proper storage and maintenance after use are as important as the pre-use inspections. Clean the equipment of dirt, corrosives, and other contaminants. Storage areas should be clean, dry, and free from exposure to fumes or corrosive elements. Step 7. Providing fall protection training. The nature of the fall hazards in the work area should be discussed, along with correct procedures for erecting, maintaining, disassembling, and inspecting fall protection devices. Use and operation of the guardrail systems, PAFS, safety nets, warning lines, safety monitoring systems should also be discussed. Correct procedures for handling and storage of equipment and materials and the erection of overhead protection are part of that training. Require employees to notify their supervisor about the use and/or maintenance of their equipment. Require employees to notify their supervisor if they are involved in a fall incident or accident. Hold managers and supervisors accountable for their crew. Conduct a formal audit of the entire fall protection program at least annually. Document and communicate the results of the audit to everyone. Compare the results with previous audits. Here's a partial list of OSHA's recommendations for fall protection rescue procedures. Rescue the suspended worker as quickly as possible. Be aware that suspended workers are at risk of orthostatic intolerance and suspension trauma. Be aware of signs and symptoms of orthostatic intolerance. Be aware that some authorities advise against moving the rescue workers to a horizontal position too quickly. Ascertain whether their personal protective equipment is properly fitted and worn so it performs as intended. The factors that may increase a worker's risk should be discussed. .502 Fall Protection Systems criteria require that employers provide for prompt rescue of employees in the event of a fall and ensure that employees are able to rescue themselves. This includes identifying rescue procedures that address potential for orthostatic intolerance and suspension trauma. Rescue procedures should also address how the rescued worker will be handled to avoid any post-rescue injuries. Take defective equipment out of service immediately. The first step in a fall protection program is to determine if the working surfaces are structurally safe. The second step is fall protection program is to conduct a fall protection hazard assessment. Step 3 is eliminating the need for fall protection if possible. Step 4, selecting the appropriate type of fall protection systems. Step 5, developing rescue retrieval procedures. Develop an equipment inspection, maintenance, and storage program. Step 7, provide for fall protection training. Step 8, monitor the fall protection program. Determine which specific jobs, activities, or other areas expose employees to fall hazards. Determine the type of work to be performed and the frequency of the work to be performed, as well as whether workers will require horizontal and/or vertical movement.